Have you ever caught yourself whispering, "I'm just a burden," or "I don't matter anymore," and wondered why those words feel like chains around your heart? Why do we so easily cast ourselves into shadows when light still waits within us? Welcome to Stillness Unfolded, where we unravel the quiet corners of the soul together. I am a monk, shaped by years of listening to the wind through temple eaves and the murmurs of hearts seeking peace. In this video, we'll step into 6 hidden alleys of the human spirit, places where phrases like "back in my day" or "what's the point" silently steal our joy. Each story I share, each reflection I offer, is a lantern to guide us back to the wisdom of the Buddha and the connections we've lost. What makes us cling to these heavy words, my friends? Why do they echo so loudly in our minds? Join me in this journey. Let's explore these alleys together, uncover their secrets, and find the light they hide. If you're ready to dive deep, give this video a like, hit that subscribe button, and let's begin. Stick with me to the end, for this is a journey packed with insight. Every moment builds to a truth you won't want to miss. 1. The silent weight of "I'm just a burden." Have you ever let these words slip from your lips? I'm just a burden. I've heard them whispered in the quiet corners of the monastery, from an old monk whose hands trembled too much to hold the broom. His eyes, once bright with purpose, dimmed as he spoke, as if those words were a heavy stone he placed upon his own heart. I remember sitting with him one dusk, the air thick with the scent of incense, watching shadows stretch across the stone floor. He had tended the gardens for decades, his laughter once a melody among the novices, but now he saw only his frailty. "I'm just a burden," he murmured, his voice a threadbare whisper. The video spoke of Miriam, a woman in her 70s, who said this to her daughter Helen, believing her dependence was a weight. But Helen's heart sank, not from burden, but from the distance those words created, a silent chasm her love could not bridge. In the Buddhist teachings, we are not solitary beings, but part of a vast web of life. Your existence is not a load to be carried. It is a thread in the tapestry of love and care, woven with every breath you take. I looked at that monk and asked, "Do you see the flowers you once planted? They bloom because of you." His gaze lifted to the garden, where marigolds nodded in the breeze, a living echo of his hand's past strength. His smile returned, faint but real, like the first light after a long night. To say, "I'm just a burden," is to forget that even in stillness, you give your stories, your presence, your breath. You are not a weight, but a root from which others draw nourishment. I recall a widow in our village, her steps slow, who sighed these words as she leaned on her son. I said to her, "Your son stands taller because he carries you." Her eyes softened, and she nodded, seeing not her frailty, but her place in his life. Why, then, do we cast ourselves as shadows when we are light? Why not say instead, "Thank you for walking with me"? These words invite love, not pity. They are a hand extended, not a door closed. The 4th thing silently revealing your heart is the way you turn away. Do you notice how it pleads for someone to call you back? Tell me, my friends, when have you felt like a burden? What might you say to lighten that weight for yourself and those who cherish you? Share your thoughts below, for in speaking, we unravel the knots of our soul and find we are never as heavy as we fear. 2. The echoes of "back in my day." Back in my day. How often these words rise like smoke from the past. I recall the village elders beneath the banyan tree, their voices thick with memories of simpler times, their eyes tracing the lines of a world long faded. The leaves rustled above them, as if whispering tales of rice fields unspoiled by machines, of nights lit only by the moon. The video told of James, who said this to his granddaughter Sophia, meaning to share wisdom, but leaving her feeling unheard, her modern struggles dismissed beneath the weight of his yesteryears. I, too, have felt the pull of nostalgia, days when the monastery rang with chants, untroubled by the hum of the world beyond, when the air carried only the scent of sandalwood and the rhythm of bare feet on stone. Yet the Buddha taught us to dwell in the now, to see each moment as it is, a fleeting breath, not a shadow to cling to. The past is a teacher, not a throne from which to judge, nor a mirror to dim the light of today. I remember a young novice, his brow furrowed, who came to me one morning as the mist still clung to the hills. He spoke of a life heavy with noise, tasks endless, voices clamoring. I could have said, back in my day, we endured in silence, our burdens borne without complaint. But what would that have sown? A wall of distance, a lesson unshared. Instead, I asked, what weighs on you today? His words flowed like a river released, and I learned of a world I'd never known, of pressures I'd never carried, yet no less real. In his voice, I heard not weakness, but a courage I'd overlooked. Back in my day, builds a wall, a barrier of pride that says, my path was truer. But tell me of your day, builds a bridge, a thread of understanding woven with care. Our wisdom is a gift only when offered with humility, a lantern held low to light another's way, not a torch to blind them. I think of the elder who once chided a boy for his restless spirit, saying, back in my day, we sat still. But I took the boy's hand and asked, what stirs you? He spoke of dreams, and I saw not fault, but fire. The fourth thing silently revealing your heart is the sigh you let slip. Do you hear how it longs to be met with curiosity? So I ask you, when you speak of the past, do you connect or compare? Share with me below, how might your stories become bridges instead of walls? 3. The shadow of what's the point? What's the point? A question that hangs heavy in the air, like a storm cloud over a parched field. I've whispered it myself, on nights when the wind howled through the monastery's wooden eaves and my knees ached from years of prayer, each creak a reminder of time's relentless march. The video spoke of Frank, who, after losing his wife, let these words become his refrain, a mournful chant that pushed his family away in their helplessness, their hands outstretched but unable to reach him. In the village, I knew a widow who sat by the river, her eyes lost in its ceaseless flow, asking the same. Her shawl slipped from her shoulders as she stared at the water, her voice barely a breath, as if the current might carry her question away and return an answer. The Buddha, too, faced this void beneath the Bodhi tree, gazing into the abyss of birth, aging, and death. Yet he did not linger in shadow. He found meaning in the middle path, a way neither clinging to fleeting joy nor drowning in despair. Life is a dance of light and shadow, my friends, and even in pain, there is purpose, like a lotus rising through mud. I sat with that widow one gray afternoon, the river murmuring secrets only it could hear. What's the point? She sighed, her fingers tracing the air. I did not offer grand truths, for what are they against a heart's quiet breaking? Instead, I asked, what small thing might ease your heart today? She paused, then replied, a flower from the bank. We picked one together, a frail yellow bloom, and her sigh softened, her gaze lifting from the water to the petals in her hand. Once, a farmer came to me, his fields barren after a flood. What's the point? He groaned, his hands rough as the earth he'd lost. I pointed to a sparrow pecking at the dust. What keeps it flying? I asked. He watched, then said, a seed, perhaps. We found one, planted it, and though it was small, it was enough. Instead of what's the point, ask, what can I hold on to now? A cup of tea, a kind word, the chirp of a bird. These are sparks of life, faint but fierce. The fourth thing silently revealing your soul is the way your shoulders slump. Do you see how they yearn for a gentle lift? Share with me below, what small joy pulls you back from the edge? In your answer, we may find a thread to weave us through the dark. For the wall of you wouldn't understand. You wouldn't understand how these words shield us yet cut so deep. They rise like a wall of stone, cold and unyielding, guarding the tender places we fear to show. The video told of Eleanor, who turned her granddaughter Sarah away with this phrase, leaving Sarah longing to help but locked out, her hands pressed against an invisible gate. I've seen it too, a farmer, bent by years, once said this to me as he mourned his lost fields. His voice was a fortress, guarding his pain, his eyes tracing the horizon where rice once swayed golden under the sun. The lines on his face told of storms and harvests, but that day, they spoke only of sorrow he thought too vast for me to hold. The Buddha taught us that true connection lies not in perfect knowing, but in presence, a quiet sitting, a listening without judgment. When that farmer spoke, I did not claim to fathom the weight of his loss. I replied, I may not grasp it all, but I'll sit with you. We rested by the well, the creak of the bucket our only song, and slowly he shared of floods that swept away his labor, of nights spent watching the sky. His burden lightened, not because I understood every furrow of his grief, but because I stayed, a companion in the silence. To say you wouldn't understand is to deny others the chance to offer their heart, to build a moat where a bridge could stand. What if we said, it's hard to tell, but will you listen? That opens a door, a crack through which light seeps in. I recall a young mother in the village, her child ill, who turned me away with those same words. But I knelt by her door, waiting, and she spoke at last of fear, of sleepless nights. We prayed together, and her tears fell not alone. The fourth thing silently revealing your soul is your pause. Do you see how it begs for company, how it whispers for someone to stay? When have you built this wall, my friends? How might you lower it, even just a stone, to let love draw near? Share your story below. Let us learn from the walls we've raised and the hands that wait beyond them. 5. The cage of I'm too old for that. I'm too old for that. A sigh that closes so many doors, a breath that locks the heart in iron. The video spoke of Charles, who once sang with joy but refused the choir, believing age had stolen his voice, his notes now a memory echoing in a younger throat. In the temple, an old nun once laughed at herself, declining to weave baskets, saying, I'm too old. Yet her eyes sparkled with a youth unspent, a gleam that danced like sunlight on water, betraying the spirit still alive within her wrinkled hands. The Buddha walked until his final days, teaching that the spirit knows no age. Only the body bends, not the soul. Life is not a race won in youth. It deepens with time, like a river carving its bed wider with each season. I persuaded that nun to try, guiding her trembling fingers through the reeds. She wove again, her baskets crooked but beautiful, each twist a testament to courage. I'm too old is a cage we lock ourselves in, a lie we tell when the world still waits. Let me try is the key, a whisper of possibility. I've seen a man of 90 plant a tree, his back stooped, knowing he'd never see its shade, yet smiling at the act. For the children, he said, his voice steady as the earth he pressed. Once, a fisherman, his nets long retired, watched the boats with longing. I'm too old, he muttered. I handed him a line, saying, cast it once more. He did, and the tug of a fish brought laughter to his lips, a sound not bound by years. Age is not a limit. It's a chance to begin anew, to taste life with the wonder of a child. What have you turned away, thinking yourself too old? What might you dare to try, even if your hands shake or your steps falter? Tell me below, what door might you unlock? What song might you sing again? 6th, the wound of I don't matter anymore. I don't matter anymore. Words that pierce like a hidden thorn, sharp and unseen until they draw blood from the soul. The video told of Lorraine, who, after her husband's passing, felt invisible, telling her family she was just taking up space. Her voice a fading echo in a home once filled with love. I knew a blind man by the temple gate, frail and silent, who once asked me, do I still matter? His smile, though, greeted every soul who passed, a quiet warmth that lingered like the scent of jasmine on the breeze. In the Buddha's eyes, every life is a lotus, blooming through mud, its beauty not in its petal's strength, but in its rising. Your worth is not in what you do, but in who you are, a spark in the endless night, a star that shines though clouds obscure it. I told that man, your stillness teaches me patience, your smile lifts those who hurry by. He mattered, not for deeds, but for being, a presence that softened the world's edges. I think of a woman in our village, her hands too weak to cook, who wept, I don't matter. I sat with her, listening as she spoke of her children's laughter from years past. You shaped that joy, I said, and her tears turned to a faint nod. Instead of I don't matter, say, I long to feel seen. Let others reflect your light. Let them remind you of the space you hold. The 4th thing silently revealing your heart is the way you look down. Do you see how it cries for someone to lift your gaze? When have you felt this wound, my friends? How can you call love back to you? Perhaps with a word, a touch, a moment shared. Share with me below, what makes you feel you matter, even in the smallest way? In your answers, we may find the balm for this hidden thorn. And so, we've walked these 6 alleys together, each a mirror to our own quiet struggles, each a whisper of the Buddha's timeless truth. Have you ever felt trapped by these words, these shadows? Why do you think they hold such power over us? Here at Stillness Unfolded, we've lit a lamp not just to see, but to heal, to remind you that you are no burden, no faded echo, but a vital thread in life's vast weave. This video is brimming with heart and wisdom. Did you catch it all? Rewatch if you need, for every step reveals something new. I invite you now, share your story below, what alley resonates with you, and why. Your thoughts fuel this channel, helping us grow and bring more soul-stirring content to you. If this journey moved you, please leave a like, subscribe, and let me know how we can deepen these explorations together. Your voice matters. Let's keep this light burning bright. Thank you for walking with me, my friends. Until next time, stay present, stay connected.